Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be in the world. This is Greg Griffin doing my regular Wednesday night talks that I do. I shared last week during my talk that a good dear friend of mine, Susie Foreman, is going to be joining me next week here in studio. And I'm going to interview her, my brother, and Leslie's going to interview the both of us actually. And she's going to get to tell us about her path in recovery. She's now, I think it's 27 years clean. Susie is 27 years clean. So anyways, she came back here to the Bay Area, unbeknownst to me, a few years before I got sick, and ended up coming back here to the Bay Area and getting into my recovery as well. But anyways, I want to talk a little bit about 12 steps, 12-step programs, 12-step sponsors, the 12 steps themselves as well. As some of you know that I've seen my talks on Wednesdays in the past, I currently work at a drug and alcohol treatment program. Been there for 21 years, under wearing many different hats and doing different groups and stuff as well. So one of the things in my program that I used to oversee was called a candidacy reentry, and that's where clients had been in treatment anywhere between 7 and 10 months in indoor residential treatment. And they got to a phase of the program which is called the working phase, where they would actually, it's called reentry because they actually re-enter society. They go back in, they go out, they interview for jobs, they get a job, they start working, they're still in the program this time. So they work, 40 hours a week, have 3 groups a week with me, process groups. One group is relapse prevention. And they are also required to attend at least 2 12-step meetings a week, have a 12-step sponsor, and have a clean and sober social activity, which was something like joining a bowling league, or they have clean softball leagues. That's just various, there's lots of stuff. Basically having somebody that hasn't had a lot of clean time over the past 10 years, 15 years, however long it's been, to learn to be able to go back out there in society and participate playing softball without having a cooler of beer over here on the side. Be able to go to a sporting event, the Oakland A's, San Francisco Giants, if you're in our areas, San Francisco 49ers. So they needed to learn how to do that, the clean and sober thing in 12 steps. Now today, treatment is a little bit shorter in different programs, just for funding reasons and various other reasons. So really and truly now, if somebody comes into treatment for 90 days, they've got that 90 days of structure of being in a treatment program where there's certain time they get up, there are certain groups they attend, there's certain times they eat, certain times they go to sleep. In that program, they work to begin with like step 1, 2, and 3. The goal is, though, is to get folks that have not been involved in 12-step before involved in 12-step, because somebody goes through treatment for 90 days, whether it's outpatient, whether it's inpatient, they still have to have structure in their life to be able to lead a clean and sober life and learn how to live a clean and sober life once they exit treatment. So that's where 12-step programs come in. 12-step programs for AA started in 1935. And it was basically founded by Bill Wilson, known as BLW, and Dr. Robert Hallbrook, who's known affectionately as Dr. Bob. Both of those, LW and Dr. Bob, are both for reason of anonymity, to keep last names out of it, just give you a good sense of anonymity. So along with that 12-step program that they did, what happens, this is what they found. They were in hospitals and talked to psychiatrists, and the hardest effort, the worse that it got for Bill W. while he was drinking. Finally, it came to him that he started going out and talking to other alcoholics and kind of putting them under the wing and bringing them home to his house. I guess probably his wife was kind of wondering what was going on with that in the beginning, but she just liked to see her husband, Bill W., clean and sober. And so anyways, that's how AA started. And the 12 steps are biblically based. Go back to it's called the Oxford Group. They had like biblical principles and stuff. And the 12 steps are kind of rooted in that. But as time went on, with AA, and folks that are coming into AA, there's some folks that have a really hard time with the word God or higher power, or as we understood him. So there were various offshoots of the spiritual component or the God component with AA, and so we've got it used to be called Refuge for Recovery, and now it's called Recovery Dharma. And it is a Buddhist, there's a Buddhist bent to it, into the recovery. They start their meetings with 10 minutes of meditation. And so it's a different feel, and it's Buddhist based. They also have Life Ring, and Life Ring is a secular program. It's based on 12 steps as well. It's in a different way though. It's called Life Ring. It's a secular program. And then there's also Smart Recovery, which is another version of AA. So there's several alternatives and stuff out there. So if you feel uncomfortable with one, try the other. Lot of other programs. The 12 steps have been so successful that other programs, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Codependence Anonymous, there's just a lot of offshoots of it because of the success of it. The thing is about the 12 steps, being in recovery and being sober is not just about getting sober, but it's just about becoming a better person, just learning how to live and become a better person in life. So the goal of working the 12 steps, the goal of working those 12 steps is transformation, pretty much, that you're able to transform yourself, that you're able to transform your life, that you're able to do these kind of things with it. So anyways, whenever I talk about Susie, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Susie that I mentioned her last week in my talk. She has sponsored a lot of folks. She sponsored a lot of folks in her times. And I actually talked to her a couple of days ago. And when she went into treatment in 1994, when she went into treatment, she was in a program that introduced the 12 steps to her. After she graduated the program, she worked there for a little bit. And then, she got very, very active in the 12 steps of both NA and AA. So when I was talking to her, I was telling her about the program that I currently work at and the requirements for that, people that are out in the working phase that I just mentioned to you, that they had to get a clean and sober social activity, had to go to 2 meetings a week, and had to have a 12 steps sponsor. So all of that, basically get that integrated into them, the 12 steps, because like I said, once you leave treatment and you move into the aftercare phase of the program, like where I work at, they still come up and attend one aftercare group a week. It's usually an hour and a half. They are in that group with other peers that have completed treatment that are also in aftercare. It's just a wonderful way to check in and to see how things are going, and there's a little bit of accountability in it. But while they're doing that now, they've got to get oriented to the 12 steps. So they go to 2 12-step meetings a week and they get a 12-step sponsor. And the way I would know that is that once a week we had a group that was called a business group, and we'd go around the group and people would raise their hand. Did you go to your clean and sober social activity this week? Yes. Did you go to your 2 meetings? Yes. Where were they? And do you have a 12-step sponsor? Yes, I have a 12-step sponsor. So, well, of course, out of 15, in order for them to be able to go out on passes on the weekend, after they work during the work week, they had to fulfill those requirements, So you have a 12-step sponsor. So if they say yes, can anybody in this group, the other 14 people, vouch for the 12-step sponsor, right? So if you have a 12-step sponsor, your peers or some of your peers are going to see you with them in meetings. You need to, hang out with them in meetings, or you can even bring your sponsor up to the program on Friday nights. We have nacho night. You could bring your sponsor up and you have dinner, here at the program that you're in. So anyways, they do that. They go steps with their sponsor. They're in candidacy reentry. Then they do move to aftercare. At that point in time, they put together what is called a continuing care plan. In that continuing care plan, they identify different activities and different events. They write down what meetings they're going to, and they just basically put together a plan that's going to kind of bridge them back out into public outside of the residential treatment, that structure that they had. So it was not uncommon, guys, and I'm going to recommend this to anybody that's watching this right now that's out, whether you're in treatment or you're just finishing treatment or you're outside. They would do what's called 90 and 90. And what 90 and 90 is they're saying, I'm going to attend 90 meetings in 90 days. So basically they're identifying, they just got done doing a live-in residential program 24 hours a day, minus the sleep and stuff. And now they're going into to a less structured environment. So for their safety net, then they said 90 and 90. I recommend it right now to anybody. What 90 and 90 is I'm going to do 90 meetings in 90 days. So that means you're going to go to a meeting a day. And what does that do? It plugs you in, to that support community out there that you need to hook up with. You've heard me talk on past talks about, people, places, and things. You can't change people, places, and things. And it's just really, really super important to be able to, identify yourself as somebody in recovery, identify yourself, with a commitment that you're having right now. And so it's just a really good structurally thing to do. 12-step sponsors now. For somebody that's new in recovery, that's just starting, is going to 12-step, the very first thing you should do is get a 12-step sponsor. You need to go there, you need to raise your hand in a meeting, and you need to say, I need a sponsor. I'm new in recovery, I need a sponsor. That sponsor takes you and with you. There's a lot of meetings too. There's other meetings too, guys. There's sponsor meetings where you'll go there and they'll say who's available to sponsor, new sponsees. And so the sponsors would raise their hands, right? And then you would know after the group to be able to approach somebody that's, able to be able to get a sponsor. It's really, really critical, guys, in early recovery to have that sponsor, because it's when you really need it the most, is when you have, you're out there with very little structure and you have stuff that you're going through and you need somebody to talk to. What a sponsor is supposed to do, the sponsor is one addict helping another, is what it is. And the sponsor will do, there's this consensus that a sponsor thing, that people think about a sponsor as just, somebody that the sponsee is the one that's getting all the benefit from it. But, on the other side of the coin, that is not actually true. A sponsor actually gets just as much or maybe even more out of that sponsor-sponsee relationship, as it helps keep that sponsor fresh and freshly rooted to her disease and her recovery, as she's seeing it firsthand right here in front of her. So anyways, what a sponsor is, a sponsor is somebody that agrees to meet with you early on, a couple times a week. Sponsor is going to be somebody that you want to feel comfortable with, somebody that you think you can feel comfortable with, somebody that has several years of sobriety themselves. You want to make sure they have several years. How do you know they're working the steps? Somebody that's worked the steps, maybe not once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. The steps are not just made to do them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you're finished. You can go in and out of them. It's just really, really a really good lifestyle for somebody to live out. I was talking to a friend of mine maybe 6 months ago, and he said, Greg, I've probably taken 10 people with me to past, NA meetings, or 10 different people with me, family members that weren't addicts. And so they would go, and one of their common comments was that they couldn't believe just the energy and the vibe, the good vibe that's in the room, and how people share so freely, and also the meetings, the way folks fellowship. They were blown away by that. And there's still 3 of those friends of his that are still going today, and they're working steps, and they're not addicts. It is a very, very good prescription of just living and being a better person in life. Like I said, working the steps is supposed to be a transformation. Like I told you guys before, the concept of living one day at a time. Living one day at a time in recovery means I'm changing me one day at a time. Learning new skills, learning new things. Back to a sponsor. Okay, a sponsor is somebody that's going to keep yourself confident, your stuff that you share, your hurts, habits, or hangups, confidential. And they know this. They've have to sponsor themselves, and they've probably sponsored other sponsees. And so it's kind of like an agreement. And where you'll get into that and working the steps, you'll get to step 4. Step 4 is when you make a list of all the people that you're writing down all the stuff, all the dirt, all the things that we've done in our past. We're really sitting down and being able to like go back through our life chronologically. Some people, there's various ways. Sponsors have their sponsees when they're working the steps. Some sponsors have sponsees doing things a little bit different. Not each sponsor is the same. Not each sponsor is going to break down step one the same, step two, and go through there. But we're getting with the confidentiality and with the trust and the bond, and that hopefully is built between sponsee. It's a good one. So that way, when they do step four and they write that exhaustive list and they go through that, that digging down inside, it can be quite painful. It could be quite painful. And then after you're done writing that list, it's sharing it with your sponsor. Step five is sharing it with God or higher power as you understand him or her and your sponsor. And so, it's just the whole thing, but I'll go into the steps in another talk. And my guess is that Susie will be going through some of the steps next week, I believe. And like I said, David and Leslie are going to interview us. And I may have questions for her, and David may have questions for me. It's just, don't miss it. It's going to be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. here. So anyways, I think Susie will be able to answer some of those questions about, what has she done as a sponsor with sponsees. And so anyways, it's really one of the things that's really maybe one of the number one things that I think, especially first off, for somebody that starts going to 12-step meetings and gets their sponsor and chooses a sponsor. And one of the main things is the sponsor. That's why you want to get somebody, folks. You want to get somebody that has several years of recovery and that have been working the steps. Like I said, you will know and you will hear it in meetings. You'll hear them talk about the steps, or you'll hear how much clean time they have, or then maybe they will become attractive to you, not in a male-female attractive way, because I don't know if you've heard this or not, but obviously males are supposed to have male sponsors. If you're a gay man or a gay woman, a gay man, it's okay for a gay man shouldn't have a gay man shouldn't have another gay man as their sponsor. It's okay for them to have a woman though as their sponsor, or another man even. Or a man should not have a woman as a sponsor, and a woman should not have a man as a sponsor, just kind of for obvious reasons. You want to be able to develop a relationship, a friendship, where there's going to be some vulnerability and there's going to be some honesty and there's going to be some sharing. So anyways, one of the coolest things I think that a sponsor does is when you first get tucked under your sponsor's wing, your sponsor will introduce you around. Your sponsor will introduce you around to, all of his friends, other people there, at 12-step. And in that introducing around is where the beginning of fellowship and building new friendships will come in. It's not unusual for after a 12-step meeting is over, whether it's AA or NA, it's in the afternoon or in the morning. It's not unusual for if there's a morning meeting that once the meeting is over, that the sponsor and the sponsor and the other people that are, in the program that are at the meeting goes out and has dinner or goes out and have breakfast or coffee. And it's just really good. You start making your friendships there. You're able to sit at a table with somebody else and just say, what did you do? How did you handle your first 2 weeks of recovery? How did you handle that? Did you have a lot of triggers? What did you do, when you worked the 4-step? What was that format like? So it's just really good. It's really supportive. It's really good and it's really supportive, and people connect, and that's where they start making, new friends. I don't know if I shared this before with you. My spiritual sponsor when I first started out, John Nielsen, I got clean in 1997, and I went to Celebrate Recovery, which a lot of churches have Celebrate Recovery now. And so, the higher power and the higher power and the God to the church, it is biblically based, and Jesus Christ is your higher power, and it's a religious thing that goes along with those steps. And if it works and it fits, and it doesn't, it worked and it fit for me. So anyways, John told me, he says, Greg, it's not that difficult. He says, you've got to change playgrounds and playmates. And, that really resonated with me that he said that, And so from there, I was able to go to a closed group and we were able to start working the steps. And that's kind of how I've went through, my recovery process. Still to this very day, Susie still goes to meetings. Susie still sponsors other women. And like I said, I'm really super excited about her sharing. coming and sharing next week with you guys. I'm very excited. So anyways, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. The thing about 12-step meetings is that the wonderful thing about 12-step meetings is that they're everywhere, all over the world. They're at all different times. And, you can always call the NA or the AA hotline. You always have somebody to be able to talk to. You get a chance to be able to, learn how to get clean and sober in a safe place. You get to know how to meet people, other people in life, especially at this early time in recovery, that aren't using drugs and alcohol. It's got a spiritual component to it. Also, the thing that I really like is that it gives you access to people that have many years of recovery. You can log on to a meeting in Germany, or especially right now, we got the COVID-19 thing going on right now. So even in the program that I work, all the 12-step meetings, we should have what's called H&I, hospitals and institutions. So what that would mean is the program that I work at, we would have twice a week. We'd have, depending on which, let's just say both programs, twice a week. We would have a secretary. The secretaries, they usually make 6-month commitments to do a secretaryship, I guess you could call it, at a place. And so the secretary will bring in a speaker each week. So now that we're in the COVID-19 era right now, temporarily, a lot of it's been done on Zoom. And so you're able to go to Zoom meetings, and it's similar. I think it's opening the door up actually right now for once this COVID-19 passes, that if you're in the middle of the night and you want to attend a meeting, go in there across the world, you can go in and you can Google that, and you can pull it up and you can find out what it is. And then the other part, the main thing, is that you really have access to all those meetings and people that have long-term sobriety. Right now, guys, AA is active in 170 countries, and the AA Big Book is actually written in 90 different languages. So I mean, it really spans. It spans all over the globe. So anyways, I just hope that was a refresher for you. Like I said, if you have questions or comments, you could send me some comments now. If you have any questions that you might want to ask Susie next week, feel free to put them in the chat. And as I kind of make up a little list of questions that I would like to ask her as well, that I'm going to forward to David and Leslie, I'm going to do the same. So I just encourage folks to be able to come here next week and enjoy that. I'm really looking forward to it. And guys and gals, I just want to let you know right now, I love doing this. This is where my heart is. This is where my passion is. And even if one person gets something out of these talks, or able to pick something out of there that is helpful, it'll make my day. Okay, guys, I will talk to you next week at 6 p.m. All right, good night.